What is the most OP build for Jeralt in Fire Emblem 3 Hopes? Jeralt has some good potential, but it takes a bit of tweaking to get him in a spot worthy of his name, the Bladebreaker. Although there are a few routes you could go, I ultimately decided the best one is Great Knight, since this class really works well with his unique ability. Let me present to you Jeralt, the Breaker of All. We're starting off with the weapon Amir. The fact that this weapon allows for restoring of the Warrior and Awakening gauges with every enemy commander defeated really gives him the extra power he needs to shine. If you're already using this weapon on someone else, I do have an alternative weapon for you. You want to find an axe with boost strong attacks and boost critical rushes on it. This build is based around your strong attacks and your ability to charge them for high damage. Since we have the Crest of Seiros, we're also going for the Seiros shield. Not only do we get a large regen effect, plus a 50% reduction on monster damage, we also get 10 defense, which is going to be pretty important as you'll see a little bit later. For our battalion, you want to resist axes. This time around, this is more or less required. As for our combat arts, we're running Wild Abandon, which is a pretty decent axe art. A lot of the higher arts just aren't very good, so feel free to use the ability you like most here. I just like Wild Abandon. Our second art is War Strike, and this one is mandatory since it's the strongest axe combat art in the game. Now on to uniques. Bladebreaker allows us to hold our strong attacks to increase our damage up to 3 tiers proportionate to the charge. This breaks guards and explodes enemies when they're sent flying. I feel like this unique is what makes him the Breaker of All. Captain's Grit completely prevents knockback from enemies that the battalion is effective against. Sadly though, this will not be used very much due to our class abilities. And Veteran's Commander reduces damage received by 50% when ordered to seize. Our first class ability is called Impregnable. This is really the most important part of the build. This ability prevents the unit from being knocked back when performing a strong attack. This also applies while charging said strong attack. This allows us to get full charges uninterrupted for the most part, while Lancebuster gives us a 95% damage boost against lances. Now onto our abilities. As usual, watch till the end to see where I got each one. Axe Prowess gives us a 30% damage boost while wielding an axe. Death Blow extends the length of time that the stun gauge stays active. Underdog increases our damage proportionate to how much lower our level is than our enemies. Boost Critical boosts our critical hit chance. Swordbreaker increases our damage to sword users by 50%, and how could we not run Swordbreaker on Jeralt, the Bladebreaker? Stalwart Stance prevents hits from swords, lances, axes, and gauntlets from knocking us back mid-attack. Although we already covered our strong attacks, this allows us to use all of our other attacks uninterrupted by the majority of our enemies. Absorb Strength gives us a boost in strength for each commander defeated. This effect lasts for the entire battle. Patience greatly increases damage to stun gauges while an enemy is readying an attack. This is another important part of the build. Panache restores the Awakening gauge proportionate to the number of enemies defeated when using a warrior special. And finally, Cyclical Awakening temporarily increases the Awakening gauge fill rate after an awakening has concluded. Our most important stats for this build are going to be Strength, Defense, and Resistance as a secondary stat. Our strength is needed for our damage. That one makes the most sense, but why defense and resistance? Well, you see, due to our charge attacks, we need to be able to survive whatever the enemy decides to throw at us without instantly being defeated. This also applies when we're attacking an enemy for the boost with patience. So a higher defense and resistance will give us the tank-like qualities we need to pull it off. So what you want to do is level completely as Great Knight for a nice boost to our strength and a huge boost to our defense. You may even be able to do all 120 levels here without hitting any stat caps. Then with your stat boosting items, you want to raise your resistance until you're happy with the tankiness of Jeralt. As far as how the build plays, you're mainly relying on critical rushes. You use your charged strong attacks, normal combos, and combat arts to do as much damage as you can while also destroying the enemy's stun gauge. You'll notice your damage isn't very high, but you'll also notice you could activate critical rushes very easily. And once you do, enemies start melting. So that's what you really want to rely on. Other than that, save your warrior specials for heavy armored units. This is the bane of our existence, even with our battalion giving us a damage boost against axes. So use warrior specials to end those units much faster. Doing all the above will charge your awakening very fast, since we do have some support for it. So try to save this for major battles like end level bosses or tanky commanders. Now where did I get each ability? Axe Prowess is from Fighter, Armored Knight, and Warrior. Death Blow from Brigand, Underdog from Brawler, Boost Critical from Paladin, Swordbreaker from Holy Knight, Stalwart Stance from Great Knight, Absorb Strength from Dark Bishop, Patience from Trickster, Panache from Dark Knight, Cyclical Awakening from Holy Knight, Wild Abandon, the combat art, is from Fortress Knight, and War Strike is from Warrior. I hope you liked today's video, and if you did, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more builds.